People, this is Ghana Zone TV, and I'm your host, Mr. Asem. A couple of weeks ago, Archbishop Duncan Williams, who's the overseer of Action Chapel, came out with a statement to explain and also at the same time support his son, Daniel Duncan Williams. And this statement came as a result of behavior that was being exhibited by him on various social media platforms that raised concern to his mental health. He also made certain statements that were very controversial. And as being the son of a public figure that he is, Archbishop Duncan Williams, it also brought negative light towards him. Now I'm going to explain later on why it shouldn't have. But the Archbishop came out and publicly had to make a statement. And for me, I know it would have been one of the most hardest things for him to do, because the Archbishop is a private man when it comes to his family. He's not someone who publicly goes out there and talks about his family, his kids, and things of that nature. He's very private when it comes to those kind of things, and rightly so, because as a public figure, you want to protect your children from public scrutiny. They didn't ask to be thrown into the public, so as a public figure, you would want to do that. You want to guard them, you want to protect them. And I know that would have been hard for him to come up publicly and acknowledge these things, even though he would have liked to have dealt with it privately. And I'm sure that they did try to deal with it privately, and they had no choice but to come out because of the public nature of how the son had been behaving. And I know it would have been hard too, secondly, as a father, because here is your son who people are criticizing and who are casting stones at, who you want to protect. And that's the first thing that a father is going to do, is that when he sees his son or daughter in any kind of situation that is harmful, the first thing he wants to do and will do is protect his children. So I know that that's what was in the back of his mind when he was doing that. Now, as it pertains to the statement basically was saying that he's been having mental health challenges, and he has been suffering from bipolar, and because of that, obviously he has been administered medication to help maintain or help manage the bipolar illness, but he hasn't been taking the medication. And anyone who has a little bit of knowledge about bipolar, that if you do not take your medication, there will come a time where you will go into a crisis. And a crisis is when you start acting in ways that individuals don't really understand why you're behaving that way. And I applaud the bishop for doing that, for acknowledging that his son has a mental health issue, because one of the biggest problems that we have in the black community that we are not acknowledging is the fact that a lot of black men especially have mental health issues and are not acknowledging or addressing it. And because of that, that mental health issue is destroying them. Not only is it destroying them, it's destroying their families, it's destroying everything that they're trying hard to build, because in our masculine society called Ghana, if you acknowledge a mental weakness, then you are weak. You're not a man. If something happens to you that is emotional and you cry, there's a statement that you will hear from our so-called strong black men in our community. Men do not cry. So because of that perception of weakness, we hold onto all this pent-up emotion, all this pain, all these hurts. To the point now, we now begin to self-destruct because we have no means of addressing all that junk that we have built up over the years. You will self-destruct, you will short-circuit. Emotionally, you will short-circuit. Psychologically, you will short-circuit. And I'm so happy that the bishop didn't say it was some witch somewhere, or it was the devil, or it was some spiritual, reason why his son, is going through that. I'm so happy because now he has put it out there to make individuals realize that mental illness is a real sickness, just like if somebody has cancer or diabetes or high blood pressure. It is a sickness that needs to be treated and can be treated, or at least managed. But in our masculine society, if we show any sign of, if we acknowledge that we have a problem or we have an issue, then we are seen as weak. No, you are strong because at least you have acknowledged it, and half of the battle is won when you acknowledge the problem. Am I saying that we don't have problems that maybe sometimes have a spiritual origin? Of course, sometimes issues will come as a result of a spiritual reason. But I can tell you that most problems that we go through are self-inflicted. And they are self-inflicted because of the decisions that we have made and the consequences that have come as a result of those decisions. So what we need to do is own up to it and address it and try and fix it. If it's a problem that is spiritual, then obviously you deal with it spiritually. But I've come to realize that a lot of the things that we are blaming on our mother and our father and our cousin and a witch and a juju man somewhere, whatever, really is not the case. Amen. So my 2 cents here is, number one, that the fact that Archbishop has acknowledged that the son needs medical help and medical attention. Number two, when the situation began to really surface, there was some sort of celebratory reaction to from certain crowds, especially on various social media platforms, in a way to villainize the Archbishop, to say Archbishop crash in the back, and we're trying to make Archbishop look bad because the son has a problem. And that is one of the things that we as a society needs to fight against. This kind of destructive, mentality that when somebody has a problem, we have to put the nail in the coffin. That is not the time for us to be pointing the finger, because at the end of the day, we do not know the reason why the young man is having the problems that he has. How are we to point the finger at the Archbishop? We don't know their family. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. In fact, a lot of the time, this mental health issues and bipolar and things of that nature are chemical imbalances in the brain, and it's been proven so. And if it's a chemical imbalance, then you need to address it medically. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not any of all that. But it's out there. And when you have interacted with individuals who have suffered this thing, at least you know a little bit about it. We can't say it's because the Archbishop done something, or the Archbishop did something, or he went through a painful experience, or he went through some sort of traumatic experience. That's the reason why he's behaving the way he's behaving. Can traumatic experiences and can emotional trauma cause bipolar and emotional and mental health issues? Yes, they can. They can. But does it apply in this case? I don't know. We're not there. We can't start blaming people if we are not there and we don't know what's going on. But by the fact that the Archbishop came out and said that this is a mental health issue attributed to bipolar, then we can see possibly it has nothing to do with what he went through, but it's merely a chemical imbalance that they are trying to correct. All right? The next point is, this young man is not a kid. He's 24 years old. So when does a young adult take responsibility for their own actions? Why are we blaming the Archbishop for the behavior of this young man? When do young adults take responsibility for their own actions and say, you know what, this is on you. This has nothing to do with the bishop. This has nothing to do with his family. This has nothing to do with anything. This is a man who obviously has an issue, refuses to take medication, and as a result is acting up and needs to own it. We need to start not babying our children, but making them take responsibility and say, you know what, I did the best I could for you, now you're on your own. I'll try my best. If you don't want my help, then you're going to have to figure this out yourself. I'll pray for you, I'll do what I can, I'll support you when I can, but if you're not going to seek the help I'm sending you, I don't know what else to do. Okay? And the next point I want to address is this. From the social media platforms that this young man is on, it looks like to me that he wants to follow a path that possibly, that he wants to follow a path that his other siblings are not, he wants to follow a path that is different, rather, from his other siblings. It looks like his other siblings are involved directly or indirectly with the church. So they are ministers, they're somehow involved, very heavily in the church and are following their father's footsteps. This young man wants to be a musician. He wants to be a rapper. He wants to sing. It looks like he has aspirations in that line. My thing is, we cannot force him to follow a path that he doesn't want to follow. Because his father is an archbishop or is a preacher or is a pastor or is a bishop or whatever he is in the church, doesn't mean that he has to follow in the same footsteps. If this young man wants to follow music, let him follow music. Okay, as long as he's not doing any damage or hurt to anybody out there. If he wants to write music, produce music, make music, let him make music. Let him follow his passion. Let him follow his heart. I tell you this, that if it is not God's will for him to do that, God has his own way of redirecting him to be where he needs to be, and if ministry is the case, then so be it. But let's not pigeonhole people into places that they do not want to be or do not have a desire to be or do not have a passion for, because you know what? Emotionally, they will explode. Not only will they explode, they will rebel and end up worse than if you had just allowed them to follow their dream and their path. Okay? He doesn't want to be a drug dealer. He doesn't want to be something negative and something evil or something. But if he wanted to follow that path, then yes, we have to block him. We have to try and dissuade him. We have to try and distract him from those destructive courses. But the man wants to make music. What's wrong with making music? All right? If it's God's will for him to be a preacher, he will. God has a way of because if we're forcing him and we're trying to pressure him to be something he's not, that can also contribute to emotional and medical and mental health issues. All right? So please, let's support one another. Let's pray for this family. Let's support this family. Okay? Let's realize that this family, especially the bishop, has done a lot to help society. All right? Whether you're a Christian or not, even in terms of Christian charity and helping the poor and helping various communities, they've done their bit. All right? And let's not be in the habit of tearing down our public leaders, right? Especially those who are trying to do good. All right? Our politicians, our entrepreneurs. Let's build up ourselves. All right? Encourage ourselves. Because if we do that, we'll have a better Ghana. All right? So take care, be encouraged, and like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time.